The biz.
Hey, good morning, What's the Biz family. Our host, Anika, she is out, so we are pre-recording for Monday's morning empowerment huddle. Really excited about continuing the conversation about mental health month and just kind of highlighting that as we spoke. We want to just kind of share resources with you, information that's available to you out here in community. So as you know, I'm a transformational life coach, and I shared a little bit about that on a previous episode. And I talked a little bit about all the different types of coaching that there is available. And so with that in mind, today's guest is positive psychology coach Amanda Rodriguez. Yay! Super, super happy to have this girl here. She is a phenomenal human being by all means. But let me first kind of explain how I know Amanda. Her and I had the privilege of working. Was it a privilege? It was a privilege.
It was absolutely a privilege.
We kind of had the privilege of working together in the same industry. As you know, I'm also have a career in HR. And that's how we met. It's been about 5+ years, I believe so. And we've always had a wonderful work relationship, which has developed, of course, into a friendship. She's always been the person that I've kind of gone to, you know, when I was facing some challenges or issues and things like that. But before we dive in, I just want you to kind of share with us all your amazingness and who you are. And
okay.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Well, first of all, how are you doing?
I'm great.
Good.
I'm really excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here.
I love sitting with you and having conversations with you. And I feel like this is even...
We're going to hug.
This is exciting. This is super
It's
exciting.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So as Darnell shared, we've known each other through the HR world, and I'm continuing as an HR professional. So that's my main source of income, as they say. And then I also have a family. Obviously, I have a life outside of work. I have a husband and a 9-year-old daughter. And actually, when I became pregnant with my 9-year-old daughter, it really inspired me to go back to school, to decide what I wanted to do. I really wanted to set a great example that women can do whatever they want to do. And so it was really important to me. And so at the time, my focus was organizational development. And so I earned my bachelor's degree in organizational development. And then later in life, I was in my 30s. I decided to go.
30s.
The 30s. I decided to go back to school, and that was really prompted by a meeting that I'll talk about a little bit later with a wonderful mentor of mine, and just really empowered me to make the decision to go back to school and earn my master's. And so that's how I kind of ended up. It was hard work.
You don't just wake up and have all that knowledge and
it was a lot, but it was good. And so I earned my master's in leadership coaching psychology. And so just to be clear, it's much different. It's a degree in psychology, but it's applied psychology versus clinical psychology. So not therapy, but kind of considers just the psychology of people and relationships. And so it's a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, how would you describe positive psychology coaching?
Yeah. So it's interesting. Sometimes people hear that word and they're like, what exactly does that mean? Positive psychology is a term on its own, and it really is about maintaining the integrity of coaching that's rooted in traditional psychology principles. And so positive psychology itself evolved from practitioners like Abraham Maslow. I'm sure you've heard of the hierarchy of needs, right? Yeah. And Donald Clifton, who created the Strengths Finder. So that's kind of a
the Strengths Finder. Is that related to Gallup?
Yes, Gallup Strengths Finder. Yes. Okay. And that's real popular in the work world. A lot of people like to use the Strengths Finder and lean into that. And so that's really kind of where positive psychology was created. It was all about identifying what's right with people and kind of hinging on that. And positive psychology really highlights the emotional elements that drive thinking and behavior, which is something that they don't necessarily do in the work world. And that's kind of where I come in.
Yeah.
So it really is, I like to emphasize the importance of those elements over cognitive traits and skills. So who you are emotionally is just as important as the skills, the natural and learned skills that you develop, right?
Yeah.
And so coaching with a basis in positive psychology incorporates both those emotional elements that are often disregarded, like I said before, in a work setting, and then also helps to build competency and skills in social and emotional awareness and well-being. And so for me personally, I view the human experience as a journey. Mm-hmm. We're all on a journey. Mm-hmm. And we have experience in our lives that shapes the way that we respond to one another.
Oh, yeah.
And how we respond in the world.
For sure.
And over time, how we respond to those experiences become habitual patterns of behavior.
Right.
And some of those patterns don't really serve us, but we don't realize it because they become so habitual that it's as natural to us as breathing. Mm. And we don't recognize.
Good. Right? That's good.
Right?
Yeah.
And we don't.
I've never heard it quite that way. That's really good. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. So we don't recognize that we're doing these things that are detrimental to our well-being and our growth even because we've been almost programmed to respond a specific way. Yeah. And so there's a whole series of things that need to happen to even begin to unravel some of those experiences and those habitual patterns of behavior.
And just thinking about the past show when I was sharing about transformational life coaching, there's such a pattern that we develop just being humans in life. Mm-hmm. I give this example about, you're a clean slate, then life happens and all this stuff. So that's, hearing you say that, that's kind of where maybe those patterns come from in our development.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, we have all these different experiences. I think when we're younger, a lot of the ways that we respond to things is, it's almost like we're trying to protect ourselves. Yeah. We're trying to protect our minds, our hearts. And then we move into our adult life and we continue to do those things that are protecting.
That defense mechanism.
Exactly. Yeah. Rather than opening up, because as an adult now I can deal with it, but I'm not gonna, because that's never what I did before. And that seemed to work before, but did it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then as you get older too, it's like being that way, living in your defense mechanisms or your negative strong suits. It's almost like you kind of suffer, but as you grow and evolve, you realize maybe this is no longer serving me.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And with that being said, it's like, what type of recommendations, I guess, and I don't want to, put you off on your stuff, but what type of, if someone had that awareness and they said, maybe I can benefit from a positive psychological coach. What steps, would an individual take, or would you take for that with that individual?
Well, I think the key is exactly what you said, is self-awareness. So first identifying, I've got an issue. Yeah. Something keeps going wrong in my life, and for whatever reason, I can't figure this out. And so recognizing there might be something that I'm doing. That's hard to admit to ourselves. It's really, really difficult. And so I wouldn't want to work with someone that wasn't ready
for that,
to really unpack that. Yeah. And so that's kind of the first thing that I do with someone is evaluate with them what's going on in your life that you feel like you need to seek out support. And are you ready for what might come up?
Yeah, because if you're not ready, oh my gosh, that healing journey for that, because you dive deep, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think sometimes you'll go a little bit in with somebody and then you'll realize, ooh, this might be a little too far and we need to draw back.
Yeah.
And so it's also important for us as coaches to have that level of self-awareness. Too. Yes. Yeah. And awareness of situational awareness, what's going on with this person. And so,
well, you mentioned the assessment part of that. So when you do that assessment, do you kind of distinctly look at their conversation about what they share with you? And do you kind of discern wise know that, I don't think this person's ready?
Yeah. And sometimes the not ready is more like, this is leaning into a little bit more of therapy versus coaching. So maybe you've got some things that you need to unpack with someone that has that level of knowledge that can really dig in with you and help you grow from those experiences that you had. Right. So the way that I sometimes make the distinction between what I do and what a therapist does is I'm focusing on your future and how you want to move forward. I think a therapist's job, and don't get me wrong, because I don't know anything about therapy, but I think a therapist's job is...
I've been in therapy.
Okay, there you go. Unpacking the past and those things and really helping you heal, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not necessarily my job. I'm not healing, but I will help you get on the path, and I will help guide you to a vision that you see for your future.
In a positive way.
In a positive way, yes.
That's really profound. That's really good stuff. Mm-hmm. So with all that, there's a lot of terms that kind of float out there in life, and there's such a. We were talking on the last show that mental health. We didn't talk about that back in the day. Mm-hmm. The resources that are available now. I mean, we actually celebrate and highlight a month where before you just didn't talk about that. Especially in my culture, it was like something that if John Smith was we heard he was going to see a psychologist or a therapist. Oh, he must be crazy. Mm-hmm. Where it's like now, I mean, people are taking mental health days. Yeah. They are saying in their work world, hey, I'm not feeling my best. Mm-hmm. They're taking personal days, and they're really taking responsibility for the well-being of their mind. And I think that is a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. But going back to what I was saying about all these different terms and things like that we hear a lot of, I always hear the term toxic positivity. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I like to talk about this. And it's something that it's a new term for me. Mm-hmm. I don't know how long it's been out there in the world, but it's something I discovered in the last couple of years. Yeah. And I realized, gosh, I do this. And so I'm going to share it with you. Sure. But brace yourself, because you're going to go
I do it too.
I do that. Right?
Okay, good.
Right. Okay.
Brace yourselves.
Brace yourselves. And no judgment. No judgment at all. So I want to make a distinction between what I do as a positive psychology coach and toxic positivity. Sure. It's never my intention to try to silver line someone's experience, right? Yeah. I talked earlier, I said, I'm really focused on what's right with people rather than what's wrong with them. Mm-hmm. If someone comes to me with a difficult situation, I'm there to help them clear those weeds, right?
I love that term, by the way. I'm going to help you clear those weeds. I love that. Go ahead.
Yes. Sorry. Well, and I talked about, right, it being a journey. Yeah. We have this path, and whether we like it or not, there's going to be weeds that grow on our path. Yeah. And it's important that hey, I need to clear those, and that you do the work. And sometimes you can't do it by yourself. Right. Like, Dad, come over, mow the lawn.
Right.
And that's okay. That's okay to ask for help. Yeah. So what toxic positivity is, it happens when, let's say a friend comes to you and they're down, right? And they say, something's going on with me, I'm struggling. And, they're not their usual perky self. Yeah. They're different. You don't like it. It's not normal. Yeah. And you know them to be this bubbly, wonderful, happy person all the time. And so the response is, oh, don't cry. It's going to be okay. And it seems
you got to take the high road, girl.
Yes. Yeah. You can only go up from here.
Yeah. Sending you good vibes.
Yes.
Oh, I do that.
I know.
Wow.
We all do it.
Yeah.
And what it's telling the other person is, A, I'm uncomfortable with what you're sharing with me right now. B, you don't have permission to feel those feelings.
Wow.
And even though that's not our intention, right? It's like, wait a second. No. Yeah. I just want to help you feel better. I just want to help you. But why? Why do you want your friend to feel better? Is it for your comfort or is it for theirs?
Most likely for your comfort. Right. Absolutely.
Because did your friend say, help me feel better?
Yeah. It's almost like when you go to people and you're like, hey, I just need your ear. I don't need you to fix what about to share with you. And I know that sometimes as human beings, we get into that, the not so much the people pleaser, but we just care for people and we're empathetic to whatever they're feeling, right? So we'll do this thing where we will like say to that person, yeah, but just think about it this way. Yes. At least you're not blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
And that's in correlation with toxic positivity.
It is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I do that. I do that.
I know we all do.
Man, that sucks.
And I've done it for years thinking that I was doing something good for my friend when in reality, I wasn't comfortable with where they were at and I wasn't ready. Now, I do want to say this. I want to clarify something here. Sure. Sometimes someone brings something to you and you have a response to it because the reality is it's triggering for you. You don't have the capacity right now to take on what they need from you. Yeah. And so we might respond that way. And I'd encourage you and everyone listening to this to think about, how can I respond differently in a way that I'm asking for what I need to. Yeah. And I'm saying to my friend, you know what? This sounds like it's really hard for you, but I got to be honest. I don't have capacity right now. Yeah. This is triggering for me. Yeah. Let's find you someone else that you can talk to about this.
That's big stuff.
Yes.
That's really, really big stuff. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day and I was talking about, I have this habit and I always tell my nephew and the people that I'm closest to, I'll just come in sometimes and I'm just like, blah, 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 and just, just vomit all over you with all my complaints and whatnot. And I read something not too long ago where it says you should ask for permission about doing that. Because if somebody said to me, if in the middle of that, what you just said, I would probably, a light would definitely go on, right? And I would probably say to myself, wow, I should have asked permission first. Do you have the capacity to talk to me and that I can share and clear my space? It's pretty negative stuff. But how beautiful a relationship is if you can literally have that conversation back with somebody. Right. Wow. That's amazing. That's good stuff.
And we can start that practice now and create a culture around that in our little units that will expand beyond just, these little units. And so I think that's really important.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a big advocate for asking for what you need. I think as women, we do not do a good job of
doing that. Or some of us also, we think we do, but it's not really. I totally agree with that.
Right. I think that sometimes we don't do it at all. And sometimes we're not stern enough in the way we do it. I think I might like it if, let's just drop all that and be very clear about what our needs are.
Yeah. I was just having a conversation with somebody and I said, especially when you're, when as a child you go through so much trauma and you're raised in a family that says to you, I don't want to hear what you're saying. Go sit down. And you're upset and you're crying. Well, and we can't help how our parents were developed. They were developed like how their parents were developed and so on and so forth. But when you're not listened to as a child or you can't express your emotions, you sort of do that shut down thing, right? And I think that's so detrimental for children. Yeah. Because I think, I always post things about how to honor your children, respect your children, and just to allow them to hear what you really have to say. So going back to what we were talking about toxic positivity, I find because you kind of emotionally will shut that person down, right? And maybe you can expand a little bit on this, but it sounds like that's in correlation with like gaslighting, right? Yes. So can you share just a little bit about what your thoughts are about that?
Yeah. So I think the intention's a little bit different. In my mind, I see gaslighting as being something that's very manipulative. Oh, yeah. So someone comes to you and they're trying to change what you believe to be true. Yeah. That's not how it was. Yeah. That's not what I meant by that. Yeah. And they're still dismissing your feelings about it and telling you you're not right. Yeah. In this way, we think that what we're doing is good. We have positive intent when we're having these discussions with our friends and family, but we don't realize what we're doing and how that lands for somebody emotionally. Right. So a little bit different, but in the same kind of world.
And it's probably even connection with what you're feeling is making me feel uncomfortable. So I'm going to tell you, oh my gosh, you're being so dramatic.
Yes.
So it is kind of in correlation to how toxic positivity is, because you're feeling uncomfortable with what you're hearing. Mm-hmm. But it's more of like this kind of just, I don't know, when I have conversations and I know someone's gaslighting me, that I get like angry, mm-hmm. I get like, you're not listening to what I'm saying, mm-hmm. What I'm trying to explain to you, or I get, oh my gosh, you're being so dramatic and mm-hmm. things like that. And effective listening, if you can have that in relationships, in your work world, wouldn't that be better mm-hmm. for your mental health? Just,
yes. 100%.
Yeah. I don't know. I always get like a little, sometimes even emotional about it, because you just want to be heard. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But you mentioned a little bit about how it's not in relation to like therapy and things like that. So let's talk about that distinction a little
mm-hmm.
bit.
Yeah, of course. So I think I talked a little bit about therapy being something that is, that's focusing on the past and really about healing.
Right.
Coaching is, we're focusing on the future. We're focusing on how to get you back on path, how mm-hmm. to kind of unravel some of the things that experiences and things that you've had, these natural patterns of behavior that aren't serving you. We're kind of this on the sidelines cheerleader for you, but it's really about your journey. Mm. My role is not to dictate what your journey is going to be. You come to me with a vision and say, this is how I want my life to look. These are the things that aren't exactly fitting, right? Mm-hmm. And help me understand why. And I'll do that. That's my job. Okay, I'm going to help you understand why, and we're going to work together to reach this vision. Mm-hmm. And it might not look the same at the end of this journey. Your perception about what this needs to look like is going to change throughout the course of our time together. But it's about your comfort. Right. It's about your life. It's not about mine. Right. It's not about me at all.
Yeah.
I'm just on the sidelines.
You're just on the sidelines cheering.
Yes.
Rah, rah, you can do it. Rah, rah. That's really great. So how do you like, well, in other words, like how can people find you? Mm-hmm. Let's talk about how they can find you.
Okay.
I know you said that you work and all that, but I know also too that you have a passion for this.
I do.
And
I do.
I think ever since I met you, you would talk about it, and I just seen the progress of how you would do the leadership training and mm-hmm. things like that, and just all the development, especially with your education and stuff. So I'm really excited to hear what are you doing to bring everything into fruition for positive psychology coaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've tried a few different things and it's been kind of difficult. At first it was like, well, I'm going to start this coaching business. And then I kind of pulled away from that. And then it was like, well, maybe I want to try writing a book.
Which you should. She's an amazing writer, by the way.
Thank you.
That's for another show.
And that might be down the line. Yeah. Who knows? But ultimately, the decision that I made, big picture, I want to expand what I do to the community. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I have a very, very close friend that I met during college, earning my master's degree. He's on his own journey right now of becoming a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, super exciting. Yeah. And so we kind of came together and conceptualized this idea. We're working on a project that's really about sharing the knowledge that we have from our two different perspectives mm-hmm. and providing a free resource to the community. And really what that comes from is there's this stigma around mental health awareness and going to see a therapist. And so, and there is a clear, I think, line, I'm going to call it, between people who have access to resources like that and people that don't.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that line isn't clear to everyone.
Right.
It's clear to me. And I want to make sure that we offer a resource to people who don't have access to those bigger resources. Yeah. And so, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think that's really beautiful because like in my transformational life coaching, I have many brackets of cost for people who, I'll coach someone in business and they pay up. So I work with this client who I know is a little maybe lower income, you know what I mean? But I know there's something dynamic there about their life, and I know they have a vision for their future and they want to set these goals. So I will work with that, and that helps community as well, right? So that's really great that you do that.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, you're good. So our idea was to create a podcast that shares little tidbits of things that we've identified that are common themes that people experience in life, right? So relationship type things, work world type things, and just unpack that both from the positive psychology perspective, the coaching, and then from his experience and knowledge related to marriage and family therapy. Yeah. And obviously, I mean, it's not like a mini therapy session. Right. It's very limited what we're able to do. It's a one-sided conversation.
But you're sharing...
We're sharing our own stories and hoping that someone can relate and learn a little bit of something from it, and ultimately unlearn some of the behaviors that they've been practicing that haven't been serving them.
The unlearning, that is a big, big thing. Those patterns that you thought or think are getting you through life, but you're literally you're surviving.
Yes.
You're existing.
You're making it.
You're making it. But are you living?
Right.
Are you living fully not only in your purpose, but your intention to why you're here? We're all, I believe this, and we're all meant to be exactly where we're at. But it's how you develop yourself, I think, and make the choice. Do I want to live in purpose, or do I just want to make it day by day? And again, going back in the day, this kind of stuff, coaching, wasn't even really offered. A lot of people just suffered in silence. And I know some of us still choose to suffer in silence, but you can never say, that you didn't have the resources or the tools. And that's why I always encourage, my clients and the people that I love and care about who are suffering and struggling, seek some therapy, seek somebody who can kind of guide you in life, and positive I don't think I've ever heard positive psychology coaching until I met you. You're the one that introduced me to that. You're the one that actually introduced me to the unlearning concept too. And I think that is just phenomenal because there are patterns that we develop, and then you go out in the world and you shine those on your kids, and then you wonder why your kids grow up and they're screwed up. I hate to say it like that. But, I think about those things. But if it comes to you in the way, because, and if you say out to the universe or to God or whatever your divine source is, man, I need some help. And then all of a sudden, a coach comes up. I believe in that. I believe that sometimes when you're in a place in your life and you're ready to make change, it'll come to you. It'll come to you. So I encourage you, those who are listening, if anything we've shared today resonates with you, take a look at it. So where can we find you?
So the podcast will launch later this year.
Nice.
We're working on it.
Good.
And in the meantime, we have an email address that you can reach out to us. And it's psychologyofunlearning@gmail.com.
Okay. We'll make sure that we put that on. We post that when we get this posted. And is there anything that you would... Well, first of all, I just want to say that I'm so happy we were able to do this. I learn from you all the time, Amanda, and you're just a wonderful human being. And I'm grateful that God brought you into my life, because not only because of our friendship that has developed, but just the power of your knowledge and the things that you share. So I know that this gal will give you 100% in her coaching, and it'll be so worth it. So make sure you guys reach out, send her an email, look for that podcast to come. And when you get that developed and you get that going, let us know, and we'll talk about it. We'll bring it back and kind of circle back with everybody that it's up and running. But yeah, is there anything that you want to leave us with today, or a thought? Or
I have one thought that's coming to me now. It is never too late.
I like that.
And I think that, we might get
that gave me chills.
We might get caught up in thinking, I'm 40 years old, I'm never going to change. It is never too late.
I love that. I love that. And being as wise as I am, I mean, it resonates for me because, I mean, not only, you know, in my career world, but also at where I'm at in life. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you for
I
having
feel
me
so
here. It's been
honored.
wonderful.
So thank you for listening. We will have all that information for you when we get this posted. Again, happy Monday, and we will see you next Monday. Have a good week, people.